How you doing? I'm Jake Kaminski, two-time Olympic silver medalist here with AAE at the AAE booth here in Vegas, the Vegas shoot. Here to show you our new extension. It'll work for both compound and recurve. I know compound you guys usually don't use extensions, but what this is going to do is allow you to tune the dampening of your stabilization system by using a disconnect in the middle here. You'll see there's a line in the center, and what is the difference is, or what that is there's essentially a cone, a male and a female cone taper that basically you can put a bushing in between it. This is a Delrin bushing, and we just finished up our mold for the urethane bushing. So it's two different stiffnesses of bushings that you can put in between the extension in the middle and adjust the dampening of the stabilizer. The idea of this came from when me, as a recurve shooter, went from old school stabilization to new school stabilization. Our aiming pattern went from this big old school to this big new school, right? But our groups were about this big old school, and our groups were basically the same new school. Compound, aiming pattern, grouping pattern, aiming pattern, grouping pattern. There was a direct correlation between the two, and I was trying to take on the challenge of figuring out why that was with a recurve. And what I found was, with a recurve, we don't have a stop that we pull against. So when we're shaking or we're under pressure, we have different loads on our fingers, different loads on the bow. That changes the limb tips, not only together, but also independently of each other as we're moving throughout the shot. So what that does is the bow will shoot from one direction one way and another direction the other way. And what this is going to do is allow the bow to move just that little bit to get back to where it wants to do to deliver the arrow, but still controlling it. Whereas old school stabilization, there was no control of the bow. It was just flopping around doing what it wants. The new stabilization locks it down in space. So this is kind of a hybrid between the two. And again, like I said, there's three pieces to it, including the bushing, or the damper. And essentially, you screw it together. You put your bushing in there, you screw the pieces together. And then there's a bunch of indicators around the actual mount. And once you get to the 0, that's the minimum amount of tightness you want to do it. You can tighten it from there to add more preload to essentially stiffen the bushing. But when you run out of a range of adjustment, you can switch from the urethane bushing to the Delrin bushing, and it changes the entire stabilization reaction. Once you have it in place and you've locked it against your bow and tightened it down against the bow, in order to prevent it from rotating, you then insert an Allen wrench from the front side and you tighten down the collet lock. And once you tighten it down really tight, I can't get to it there with this small little Allen wrench, it won't rotate anymore. And then you mount your V-bar bracket or your quick disconnect or your stabilizer if you're on a compound, and then roll from there. So what this does is it just allows a little bit of give to the stabilization system, allows the riser and the limbs to kind of reset back to 0 and then deliver the arrow, but still control the bow. And where you can find this extension would be pretty much anywhere that any AAE products are sold. You can get it direct through AAE, get it at Lancaster Archery Supply or your local pro shop, anything like that.